Welcome, folks. It's another episode of the much anticipated Real Life Caddie podcast. I'm here with Michael Zabbo.
Yep, I'm back with Big G. We're happy to be here.
We haven't done one since what, Chris Rhodes?
No, we did one in between that.
Did we?
Yeah, we did. You didn't have the numbers right though. You thought we were on 133 and we were on 132, and this is 133.
This is 133.
Okay, yeah.
Excellent. What we got today?
We got more great caddie stories. You know, I had some interesting ones from our friends down south in Southern California. Those clubs that we always love in the LA area. Mm-hmm. Also, he told me he had the greatest story for the big course that I've ever heard. And I've heard that a lot with podcasts. He was a podcast listener. He's like, I got the greatest story for you.
Sure.
And it's pretty good. I can't wait to tell it. This is actually a good one.
We'll decide.
Okay.
We have plenty of mailbag questions and a very exciting announcement about how you can get in contact with us. Mm-hmm. However, as always, we will start with what?
Caddie stories.
Excellent. What you got, Michael? What do you want to start with?
You want me to start?
Yes.
You know, I've been working a lot, man. I mean, it's the last 7 days. I've gone twice, 3 times. I got a lot of time off coming up, so I'm trying to get my fill now. I'm going twice a lot, which I don't love to do, and seen some stuff.
You off to Disneyland again?
Indeed, I am. It's the last week of the school for my daughter, so we're going to celebrate at the end of the school year.
Wow.
And then, come back, then leave again, then come back, then leave for like 10 days. It's going to be a whirlwind the next month. But a lot of jobs, man, a lot of work. I've seen, the magic moments have happened in the last few weeks. I've had not too many magical rounds, but I've seen some like crazy putts go in, crazy eagles, a couple of hole outs from like 150, 160 yards. It's been fun to watch. Some interesting golf, but a lot of good things happening. I did have one from the story I just mentioned briefly, but
go on.
The country clubs down south, this one particularly, Brentwood.
Brentwood.
You know the members.
Brentwood Country Club.
Yeah. And I had some members come up, and it was interesting. They were making waves across the resort. People heard about them, and a lot of yelling back and forth as they typically do, mainly to each other, complaining to each other about putts not given and whatnot. And then actually a guy you know pretty well, Matt Schwab.
Yep.
You know Matt. You've caddied for him in one of the tournaments out here, or you've caddied in his group in one of the tournaments. You actually mentioned the story a couple years back.
I don't recall that, but
you did on the podcast. You mentioned the story. They were playing they hired the girl to play the guitar.
Well, I remember that part, but I don't remember the story you're going to tell me or mentioning that because I wasn't part of it. He was the inventor of the cotton swab, correct?
Correct, yes. The cotton swab. That was him. Yes, exactly. Or Charles Schwab's nephew or something like that, as we like to say.
But what happened?
So he says, I listened to the podcast. He's like, he didn't know that I was on the podcast he was talking about. He's like, I have the Scottish guy of the podcast. I was like,
the Scottish guy. He doesn't listen to the podcast.
It's like
he doesn't listen to the podcast because if somebody says the Scottish guy and then doesn't know you're on,
that's true.
Listen, it's like when we've said it before. When someone says, "Oh, you still doing the podcast?" Well, you're obviously still not listening.
Funny you say that because then I was like, I actually kind of been co-hosting with him the last couple of years.
Years.
He's like, your voice sounds familiar. I'm like, yeah, buddy, exactly. You don't listen to it. But anyways, he's like, so I have the greatest story that you've ever heard revolving around this resort.
Okay.
I was like, bro, I've heard this before, but shoot. He goes, okay, so Big Tony's caddying for me in this tournament you have in November every year, Pro-Am. He goes, I'm playing terrible, and his buddies are listening to this.
Playing terribly, yeah.
Playing terribly.
Normal day for Schwab.
He's like, we teed off at the big course. We teed off on the back nine first. I'm playing terribly. I'm a little upset. When he says a little upset, his buddies are just laughing. He's whining. He's whining. I'm terrible. I'm going to give up the game. This is terrible. I hate myself. Yes, I do quit. So Beamer happens to be his pro. Rich Beam's his pro. So they're on the 5th hole, and he goes, Beam, I just want to give up the game. I want to quit. I'm done. I'm over it. He's like, all I ever wanted in my whole life was a hole-in-one. And Beamer looks at him and goes, look, Matt. He goes, you need to relax a little bit. He goes, there's a caddy out here who had cancer. I don't know if you heard it. There was a big story in Golf Digest, but I met him, and I helped him out. I raised a bunch of money for him. I did a GoFundMe. He actually ended up beating cancer. I go to Mass out here. There's a local church down the road, and I went in there, and this priest actually knew this story and knew who I was. And he gave me this cross right here that I have in my hand. And you know what I'm going to do for you? I'm going to give you this cross, and you're going to have a hole-in-one in your life. He goes, all right, Beam, thanks a lot. So they get on the 6th hole. He shanks one over the green, long right into the ocean on 6. He's laying down on the 7th tee box, pretty much done with the game, crying. And our friend Big Tony walks up to him and says, look, Matt, you need to just, you're at the big course here. You need to relax and just enjoy the last couple holes. He goes, it's 95 yards, playing about 80. Here's your sand wedge. Why don't you just focus on this shot and hit a good one? Steps up to the tee, hits it about 2 feet past the pin, sucks back for his first hole-in-one in his life. 2 holes after Rich Beam gave him this crucifix.
A crucifix.
That he had in his pocket.
Now, why is that funny?
Beamer damn near, well, hold on, we'll get to that. But Beamer damn near, he's in tears because he thought he saw Jesus himself after what he told this guy, and it happens 2 holes later. This is absolutely amazing. Now, the best part about this is if you know most of these clubs down south, especially Brentwood, this gentleman happened to be Jewish.
Brilliant.
So he gave Matt Schwab a crucifix, and he was Jewish, and said, Jesus is going to help you out in this one.
That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So I said, Matt, well, then did that convert you? I mean, did you see Jesus too? He goes, no. But I had the first hole-in-one in my life. I'm like, that is truly an amazing story. That's incredible. That's incredible.
That day we started in 7, because I do remember it, because I remember they finished the 9th, then they went and got drinks, and they went back to number 7 and played it again.
I can imagine, yeah. You had good memories.
Wonder if he bought everyone drinks that night.
Maybe. Good chance.
I had some people from the Philippines this week.
Oddly enough, I was on that loop with Brentwood when I saw you. You were in front of me 2 groups, and I kind of smiled when I saw you because I know how much you like those bench jobs from different countries.
From the Philippines. Interesting. Very interesting round.
In what way?
Well, I didn't really know where the Philippines were, what it is. Kind of had an idea that
it's
it was
in Asia.
Yeah, okay. What gave it away? And I came home and I had a look at it. Do you know what language they speak there?
Tagalog.
Tagalog,
yeah.
Wow, you knew that?
I have a couple of Filipino friends, yes.
Okay, Tagalog, but English is actually, they were not colonized, but there was something to do with the US, so they speak a lot of English. Because I was like, oh, your English is phenomenal. And they're like, oh, no, we speak English there. My English is better than my Tagalog. And I said, wow, okay. So nice. I came home and I did a little bit of research.
Okay. What do you got?
So the Philippines is made up of 7,641 islands.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Do you know how many golf courses there are?
3,000?
111.
Ooh.
Okay. The largest cities?
Manila.
Okay. Guess how many people live there?
6 million.
1.9, way off.
Okay.
And the largest, that's actually the second largest. The largest city is a place called Quezon City, 2.76 million.
That's a lot of people in a city, yeah.
The people I had, wonderful. There were three ladies actually. One was spectating, and there was 2 young lads. I had the 2 young lads. They looked 16. Turned out they were actually 29. Now,
that's about right.
Yeah. So, a couple of things happened. They all smelled very nice, but I think they were all using the same soap bar, right? They all smelled exactly the same.
You got close enough outside to give them a good whiff?
There was, when something smells nice, it's nice. But
it emits a fragrance, yeah.
The whole group, it was really interesting. I was working with another Scottish caddie, and he actually was the one that commented to me, which is unlike...
Very pleasant smell, yeah.
Very pleasant smell. We also, if you want to go to the Twitter account, you will see some photos of the clubs that the auntie was using. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Honma.
Oh, the Honmas. Those are pricey.
Very pricey.
Very pricey.
So I took some photos. I posted it on the Twitter. And then the other Scottish caddie did a little bit of research. And turns out they're called Honma berries.
Oh, the berries. Those are like $900 a club. More?
Nowhere close.
2,000?
Like many of your reads in the course, Zabbo, completely off. Wrong side of the hole again, Michael.
No.
Right? Irons, $40,000.
Huh?
40 grand.
Get out of here.
The woods cost 5,000 a piece.
No, a piece?
A piece.
No.
And you know what she said? You don't have to put the head covers in my clubs.
Yes, I do.
They have like gold plated.
Oh, yeah.
And they have the like ornaments they have on the top of the club. It was incredible. So the contact area is gold plated, and then the top of it has some sort of
5G a club.
Like you would see like Japanese tattoo, like dragons and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what it looks. So there you go.
I mean, you want to talk about a couple of weeks ago that person had the question about like big timing. That's big timing right there. When
that's
you have
a flex.
$40,000 irons.
So the whole set maybe comes to about 60 grand.
I hate to say it, but I might even spring for the iron covers at that point.
Unbelievable. And do you know the funniest thing that happened was I walked around. You know, sometimes when the course we don't have do you walk around with hankies?
No.
Right. No. So what do you do? How do you empty your nose if you have?
Got a towel, little snot rocket. Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually in the UK we call it an Italian hanky. So you put one nose and one nostril and you go
snot rocket. Here
exactly. One of the ladies did that.
Nice.
And then just looked at me. It's like,
that's how it's done.
I was like, wow, that is a flex. That's a flex and a half. You get the clubs.
I got $40,000 clubs, bro.
And the Italian hanky.
$40,000 clubs, $5,000 of wood. How was the pay at the end for you?
I will move on to the next story. What else you got?
Well, now that we're talking about pay, we do, as you said, you caddied for somebody from the Philippines. I had a couple of interesting ones. Actually, a phone call with you right after the loop. I had Indian guys, from India.
Oh, welcome to United States
but
of America.
No, but from the UK.
Oh, okay. Oh.
So very, very nice gentlemen. Very nice gentlemen.
Nice
and I'm talking to you on the phone after the fact, and I'm like, great time. They were good, but the pay, and you were like, they gave you this amount of money. I was like, bingo, to the dollar. And it wasn't like an even number either. You guessed it to the penny, spot on. I was like, wow, that's impressive.
You should run a mile.
It doesn't matter what you do for some people.
Yeah. You won't be able to buy 3 ice creams at Disneyland with that money.
Correct. But a week later, so actually just a couple of days ago, I had this group from Mexico City.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there were 4 Mexican guys, obviously from Mexico City, but they were Mexican, very nice guys. I'm a good caddy. I think I'm a really good caddy.
Really?
I knocked it out of the park that day.
Okay.
They absolutely loved me. They had been playing for 3 days already. They had 2 more days. They were like, you're coming with us tomorrow, this and that. We're playing at 1:30. I was like, well, I already have a group tomorrow. We don't care. You're coming with us. Mm-hmm. They gave me like the lowest of the low. You can imagine how bad it was. And they fully expected me to be there. In addition to that, they said, we didn't like one of our caddies yesterday. We loved the other one. Max, they were like, could you get him to come along? I was like, yeah, I'll get him to come along. I'll text him. So I texted him before I got paid. I was like, hey, bro, you want to come along on this loop? And then I got paid, and he didn't even respond to my first text. I texted him back. He's like, never mind. I understand you're not going to go with them again. It was abysmal.
Garbage.
Abysmal. And then on top of that, so this was, like I said, they were there for 3 days. They were there for 2 more days. The next day they were playing the big course, or 2 days later they're playing the big course early in the morning. So they show up, and there's like 8 caddy requests. All the caddies refuse to go on the loop because word gets around the resort and they refuse to go on the loop.
Chinese whispers.
Yeah.
Boys from Mexico City, from Mexico.
But see, I'm of the mentality, I don't care. I'm going to do the loop regardless, and I'm going to treat it the same no matter who they are. I'm going to do the same job for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. But you won't turn up the second day.
Correct. Yeah. There's no chance I was going again. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a bit like sports. I really think it's about sports. If you want the best players, you're going to have to pay the money.
Exactly. And if you don't, you're not going to see the players.
Mm-hmm. You have spoken many times in the podcast about your bowel issues.
My ball issues?
No, bowel.
Bowel issues.
Bowel. Yeah.
Yes, it's been better as of late. There's a few close calls here and there, but what you have one that you?
So I always laugh about it.
Yeah, and it's never happened to you. Are you saying it?
Once when I was a greenkeeper way back in about 2001. I was walking down. I'd left the house 5:30 in the morning. I'd gone for a sly fart on the way down the road and then ended up sharting myself. So I had to waddle back to the house. And,
it happens. It definitely happens.
Wake my mother up, clean up, and then I nearly missed my lift into work. That was the only time it's ever happened. I remember when it's golf related. A few weeks ago, I was thinking about you. This. It was just
there's your first problem. You were thinking about me. That's going to bring it on even worse.
Well, it made me think about you because we talk about it so often. I was doing 36 one day. It just happened to be that why not? The time I couldn't justify not going back in, and it was decent money. I was able to work in the morning, come home, and then the tee off time was 1:40.
Okay.
So I come home, I sit with the dog, I have something to eat, watch a bit of telly. So I'm 1:40, 12:59, I'd worn shorts in the morning. It was freezing, so I would thinking I'll put on trousers.
Yeah, good
So
call.
I grabbed them from the tumble dryer. 12:59, I go, well, I should probably start getting ready.
Yeah, that's about par for the course for you. Yeah.
I live 15 minutes away from the course.
Yeah.
I don't want to turn up
So
too
you were
early.
still kind of early, yeah. You had time.
Had to brush my teeth. Had
Yeah.
to take the dog out for a pee. There's certain things to do. I'm all done. It's 1:09. I looked in the cooker, and I was just at the back door, and I thought, maybe I should go for a pee before I leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the facilities where we are
for
just
sure.
garbage.
Release. Yeah, but
Yeah.
home base,
The bathroom we get to use, you hold your breath and close your eyes.
especially when you're going in at 140. Yeah.
So I thought I'll go for a pee. So I go back into the house, taking a pee, and as I'm taking a pee, I thought, a little bit of gas.
Yeah. Might want to sit down for this one.
No. This is the problem. I probably
Gotcha.
should have. I thought I'll just open the valve while I'm here. And it happened.
It happened while you were in the bathroom?
No, I was standing up taking a pee and I sharted, right?
Okay, that's not the end of the
It's
world.
not the end of the world, but here's the problem, is I then went, my pockets are full in my trousers, right? So I undo, let the trousers go down. I thought maybe I've been able to hold it, right? In the cheeks. Right?
Yeah, you had to check it out, yeah.
But as I looked down, I bent my knee
Oh, God.
and I'd taken the underwear down. I see it's, come on, I've got to change underwear now. But I bent my knee and then it down the trousers,
Oh, no.
on the leg, down the sock.
Oh, no.
So now I've got 31 minutes to get to work.
Still plenty of time for you. I mean, you're not leaving
But
usually.
now I have to shower
Oh, of course. Yeah.
from the waist down, right?
Yeah.
And then the trousers were only on me for about 9 minutes. Then they go back in the washer,
Of course.
with the socks, with the underpants, everything, right?
Might want to just toss those in the garbage.
And oh no! Come on now, no,
Good
no,
pair
no,
of trousers, yeah.
A good warm wash will sort that out.
Yeah.
And I get changed, and I turned up at 1:37 for a 1:40 loop.
Well, you're acting like you're surprised at yourself. This is typically when you turn up.
That's typically when I work. I turn up. I said, "Sorry, boys, I'm late. I shot myself." And you know what I mean? No one's going to argue with that, are they?
That's true. I mean,
So, but they were kind of dodgy when they were shaking my hand. I said, "Don't worry,
I had a bath.
I was hosed down.
Yeah.
It's okay." But yeah, I thought about you when it happened because I was like, "Oh, this is how Zabbo feels every week."
Well, at least you had home base and you were in your own bathroom. When that happens to me, I'm normally in no man's land, out in the middle of the golf course. Yeah.
What else you got?
Oh, man. Well, after that, how can I top that?
How can you top it?
Our friend Goldie's back in town, our dermatologist, Glenn Goldberg. So caddying for him. Pleasure. Always a pleasure to see him. He was asking about you, where you are. And, so I'm going to have 4 days with him. So we're going to have some stories after that. He's still playing. Guy's a 14 handicap. He shot like 76 yesterday. It's unbelievable.
So he's not a 14 handicap.
Well, he says he is. I'll take it. Good chance
you
to win
also
the
say
tournament.
you're a really good caddy.
But well, that's factual.
Factual.
When we're talking facts, we're talking facts. But our pro, anyways, which he was our pro a couple of years ago. His name's Alan Tappy. I didn't really get to talk to him that much the last time he was here. I didn't really get his story, and I was asking Glenn, like, what's the guy's deal? He's pretty old now. He's like, oh, he played on tour for a couple of years. And then I was like, all right, let me talk to this guy. And he played on tour for like 9 years. Back in the 70s, he was playing against, Jack, Arnie, Seve. I mean, all these guys in pretty legendary. He still holds the course record in a major at Oakland Hills. He shot a 65. Pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to have 3 more days with him. So I'm sure I'll have a lot of stories relating to him.
Jack Nicholson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, is that you talking about?
You got it, yeah. Jack and Arnie, as you know.
So I caddied for these lads maybe 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
They're from Fort Worth in Texas.
Yeah, Dallas
which is
area.
Kind of West Texas area, correct?
We know some people in that area.
We know, yeah, you're not going to keep that.
Our boys.
your boys. Right. This lad tells me a fantastic story. It's a Sunday morning. I always go in off the bench on a Sunday if I don't have a request. And I knew this is the reason I went in, because this lad tells me a story.
Does this beat our hole-in-one Jew for Jesus story?
So this guy tells me a story about there's a rich white housewife in West Texas 25, 30 years ago.
Okay, it's always a good start to a joke, but go ahead.
It's not a joke.
Okay,
True story.
okay.
And he said she did this whole Lady Godiva thing.
Uh-huh.
Now, this lasted for about 5 years. And what she would do, she lived in this huge ranch. Now, in Texas, when you're talking huge ranch, you're thinking thousands of acres.
Oh, yeah.
Massive.
Yeah.
So what she would do is she would ride the horse bareback completely butt naked. Okay.
Are we talking figuratively or literally?
No. Well, come on.
A horse or a dude?
No, a horse. A horse.
Okay.
Right. So she would in the back of the horse.
Butt naked.
And she would ride up to where there's a bunch of oil workers, and she would get within about a couple 100 yards and tease them.
Is this? I've heard of adult movies that start like this.
This is
this is just a true story. Okay.
This is a true story.
She's riding up to the oil workers just
to play with them. You know what I mean? And of course, you imagine like 20 guys working around a rig.
Oh,
and they see this, they're just going crazy.
Yeah,
and they would chase her, and then she'd ride off. Now it gets better because she would do this, and she'd wear a mask. So she'd have a mask over her eyes, so nobody knew who she was.
Okay, I'm following you.
And because she's so far from the ranch, nobody put it together that this is who it would be.
Yeah.
So it turns out this is going on for 5 years. The husband had heard about this.
She was married.
She was married. Yeah, rich housewife.
Gotcha.
Right? The husband didn't realize that it was actually his wife. So he actually caught her and realized it was her because he came home one day and she was riding the horse back into the barn.
Was he like one of the oil workers?
No, he would be an owner of something, but he just heard.
Yeah, and that kind of story gets around.
Okay. So he's horrified that it turns out it's his wife. So he divorces her, kicks her to the curb.
Okay.
She's not down and out though. A very resourceful woman.
Okay.
She starts a restaurant called the Mini Skirt Junction. You can check it out.
Still in existence?
Not sure if it still exists, but certainly at the time.
It did, yeah.
It's in the middle of nowhere. But of course, the story gets out, and of course, all the boys.
Oh, the oil workers got to come meet the horse rider.
So this is before Hooters. So you see short skirts, boob tubes. The boys are loving it.
Uh-huh.
And all around the restaurant, there's artwork. And it's pictures of her naked.
On a horse?
No. She's sitting in different areas of the restaurant.
Wow. Really?
That was the story.
I mean, is there it's got to be like a 21 and up restaurant, or you can't allow children to walk into this restaurant?
I don't know. It's West Texas.
That's true.
A lot of things go on in West Texas that don't happen at Disneyland. Well, actually, no.
What was the name of this restaurant? I got to look this up.
Mini Skirt Junction.
Okay, we're gonna verify this. All our listeners,
you can verify it during the break
because you've already looked it up for sure. Warren's like, I've seen pictures.
You can verify. But I was the 15th hole. He told me that. I was just laughing. Oh, it was brilliant. Just to do that.
How do you stumble on that story?
Well, I don't know how.
I don't know how you're waiting around. You're like, hey,
not sure.
You ever heard about this horse? Yeah,
classic.
That is pretty funny. So the start of this whole Brentwood group that I had, there was, so Matt Schwab comes up. I have this other guy, Bob. I'm working with, you know all the caddies there. So I'm working with another great caddy, Coulter.
Another great caddy. Again, you
Get
just went,
out of here.
You just went earlier on from saying, I'm a good caddy. I think I'm a really good caddy. And now you're basically saying, great caddy. Come on, Zabbo.
You know my skills. Be quiet. Let me tell the story. So anyways, this other Brentwood member sees Coulter. He's like, Coulter, what's up, man? Good to see you. Coulter had caddied for him in the AT&T like 7 years ago. But he's paired up, and Coulter like, oh, dude, he's a real good guy, fat loop. You're going to have fun with him. And then, so he's paired up with the guy I was supposed to be paired up with, Matt, who Tony set me up with. He's like, you got a caddy for this guy, and they're on the cart. You talk about a caddy abuser, and Coulter was kind of laughing because he every move you make is the wrong move. And you see this from time to time. You get this guy, and he's like, no, I need this club. I need that club. That read is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. And you and I can deal with guys like that because I don't care. I'm going to give you the right info. Whether you choose to believe it or not is on you. But he was relentless all day. Like, oh, freaking caddy, bullshit read. I should fire you. I don't care. Fire me. So I only caddied for him for one day. The other caddies that were in his group every day, he had two different caddies because they played 4 rounds, and he had 2 different caddies. After the 3rd or 4th hole, they're like, I'm just not going to read your putts. Good luck. You're on your own. Turn them off. But it's funny how we encounter people like that. They just they want to abuse the caddy. They have the caddy just for their enjoyment to abuse and yell at. And I was like, I'm fine with it, dude. Go ahead. I don't care. It's going to roll off me.
I think those types of characters are the only way they will actually respect you is if you then talk to them the same way they talk to you.
It's exactly what I did.
And you up at a level.
Yeah, and I did. I upped at 11. I was giving it back to him, and he did enjoy it.
You have to respond.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to let that slide.
Why is that a cultural thing? Is that an LA thing? Is it a something else thing.
Yeah, could be, yeah.
But imagine going through life just trying to make someone's
there. So oddly enough, the day after this loop was the start of the Glenn Goldberg job that I had, who's a member down south at a different club, nice club that we can all agree the members are really nice at this club. So one of the other guys in his group was talking about this group behind him the day before he played with his son. Well, that was the Brentwood group. They were right in front of me. I didn't realize it. And he's talking about how they were arguing back and forth. And then he's like, what was their deal? I was like, well, look, Tony. I was like, his name's not Tony, but we'll come to him. I said, look, Tony. I was like, LA member. I knew these guys from LA, but I'm like, you get any of those clubs, Brentwood, LA Country Club, Bel Air, Hillcrest. I mean, they're all the same. They're whiny. He looks at me and goes, I grew up at Hillcrest. I'm like, well, and then I kind of backtrack. I'm like, well, you can't lump everybody in the same character. I'm like, half the guys there are good, but
well, Hillcrest's okay. It's not too bad.
Exactly. It was pretty comical because his face kind of dropped because I mentioned them all, and then I dropped Hillcrest, and his face dropped, and he was like, I grew up playing Hillcrest.
Zabbo.
It's not like that.
We've come to the end of time for our caddie stories. I've got so much more here. We'll have to roll that into the next one.
Yeah.
We're going to have to move on to our mailbag questions. And a very exciting announcement about how you can get in contact with us. Before that, though,
we have a message from our sponsor, Big Game Golf.
As many of you know, our podcast is sponsored by the Big Game Golf app. However, what many of you won't know is there's also a Big Game Golf Founders Club. Anyone can become a member of the Founders Club, and the benefits are numerous. You'll get early access to new game releases, receive special promotions from Big Game Golf partners, and you'll receive a lifetime Big Game Golf membership, which also includes 3 one-year premium memberships for 3 of your golfing buddies. As a Founders Club member, you'll also have access to the Big Game Golf team to share comments, feedback, and suggestions. To find out more, visit biggamegolf.com and click on the Founders Club tab. And if you do join the club, don't forget to enter the promo code GD1 to receive some Big Game Golf swag. Mini Skirt Junction.
It's a real place. It existed. It was a long time ago, but it did exist.
Mm-hmm. I'd have gone for a burger and fries there.
I'm sure you would.
well, you'd have been with me.
That's true.
Let's be honest. Milkshake, please. Mailbag questions, Michael.
Okay,
let's move on. Them. This is a 2-pronged question.
Ooh.
What is the one rule you would love to see, number 1, enforced, and number 2, changed? And that is from Peter H. from Sandhurst in Bracknell Forest, which I'm guessing is England.
The one rule.
So number 1 that you would want to see enforced.
Pace of play. And if you have a pace of play policy, enforce it. Penalize guys. The only way it's going to get better is if you actually enforce it. And it's it's hardly ever enforced. There's always, always loose rules. I think even in resort play, if you tell the group, I'm going to move you a hole if you don't pick up the pace, move them a hole if they don't pick up the pace. Mm-hmm. If you're on tour and you're behind, penalize them 2 shots if that's what the penalty is. Do it.
The 3-minute rule looking for a golf ball.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even know it went from 5 to 3, and that happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
A little bit like the out of bounds, drop it in play, 2 club lengths in from where it went out.
See, now that one's tough to enforce because it's ambiguous. It's not in play for tour players and a lot of tournaments.
I wasn't saying enforce it. I was just saying it came in at the same time as 2 years ago.
Yeah. That's one I'd like to see change personally.
I would tell you one thing about that one though. It's meant to be where it went out of play. How many people do it? Where it would finish? Yeah. Like it's ridiculous.
It's by the green.
Exactly.
No, you were back there 190 yards out.
So the one we would like to see enforced is definitely time. So shot clock goes on. Have professional. They have enough money to pay someone to go around with a shot clock. Ding,
mm-hmm.
You're on the clock.
I tell you what, it changed the game of baseball. It changed it with the pitches. I mean, there's an 18-second shot clock, and it changed the game. It's much faster and more enjoyable.
Snooker is a game back home where there's a tournament. Maybe it was like Thursday Premier League they called it, and there was a shot clock, 30 seconds, I think.
Yeah,
and that because they might be looking. When you start playing safety, you could be looking at 3 and 4 minutes between shots. Absolute garbage.
Abysmal.
Fall asleep.
Abysmal.
Okay, we both agree on that one. Oh, well, for once. And then rule that you'd like to see changed.
Top of the list, number 1, without question, and it needs to change, and it needs to change yesterday, is You're in the fairway in a divot. You should have a clean lie. Lift clean in place if you're in the fairway.
Yeah.
Lift clean in place, period. If you're in the fairway, lift clean in place every single time. Mm-hmm. You know, these people stuck on the past in history. I mean, we've been marking golf balls on the green for numerous years, cleaning it. You have to mark it if it's another guy's line. You hit a fairway, it should be the same thing. You shouldn't be penalized if you happen to fall in a divot and not have a perfect lie. You should have a perfect lie if you hit the fairway every single time.
Okay, I like that one. I will go with something slightly different. The person furthest from the hole on the green has to putt first.
You like that one?
Once you start, you have to finish.
You want that change? Like if you start putting, you have to hole out?
No, we're not marking it from 2 feet. We're finishing. Who cares about the other guy's line?
I like that. That's and maybe add a shot clock. Like once you start your first putt, you have a minute to finish. Like, okay. That's it.
yeah. We'll send those off to the R&A and the USGA and see what they come back with. But that was good. Thank you, Peter.
Good question.
Now, just this past week, Zabbo and I received a text message from our Korean friend, Chang.
As we do from week to week, day to day.
Oh, Ching Chang, Ching Chang. He sent the video of a gentleman.
Oh, here we go.
The Preserve.
Stop.
The Preserve, which is a 13-hole par 3 course at Bandon Dunes. And this guy is putting downhill from 100 yards, and he holds it. Uh-huh. And, of course, the question comes out, does it count?
Of course it counts.
I would say no.
Of course you would. Of course you would. It's funny. This comes up nonstop. This comes up in resort play, like, I don't know, 2 or 3, 4 times a month where they have nothing. They don't know about the podcast or anything. It's early in the round. Mm-hmm. And they start talking, have you ever had a hole in one? Well, I had one on a par 3 course. Well, do you count it? Like they talk it and, it's always half the group says yes, half the group says no.
It's probably as much talked about as iron covers.
It is. I'd agree. It's a personal thing. If you want to count it, count it. If you don't count it.
Okay. If you identify as a man, that's okay. Fine.
True.
Okay. You fall into that category, Zabbo.
Thank you.
I wouldn't even call that one. The guy's putting it from 100 yards. How can that be called a hole in one?
I would kind of agree with you more on that. But
so when you have experience of this, because I did that hole in one event 2 years ago up at Half Moon Bay. For those of you that want to hear about that, you can check that out. A couple of years ago, not sure what episode it was, but we do have 132 previous episodes. You're meant to have insurance. Now, to get an event insured, it cannot be a walk-on event. You have to have a set number of players. It has to be organised in advance, and it has to be a minimum of
155 yards?
165 yards.
165, yeah.
Mine was about 147. Okay, that was the max we could get on that par 3. Mm-hmm. So I put up the money myself. So it was squeaky bum the whole time.
Good thing. Did anybody have a couple of scares?
When I did that 36 holes a few weeks ago, I wish I'd been puckering up quite as tightly as I was when I was at Half Moon Bay, because there was one guy that did not pay his money because I was charging people $20 to enter. He didn't pay and he hit it 6 inches.
Ooh.
And you know what he said? He says, because closest to the pin got a free foursome at Half Moon Bay. Uh-huh. They were generous enough to do that for us.
That's nice. Yeah.
And he says, "Can I give you my 20 so I can win it?" I says,
"After the fact?"
Yeah. I says, "Jog on, ta-ta."
Did he happen to be from Brentwood?
He was actually. It's funny you say that. His last name was Schwab. But if it's going to be insured, to me it has to be during a round of golf where there's some sort of competitive edge to it, where you're having a scorecard in your hand, you're playing a match against your mates, even if it's a bounce match. It has to be. You have to be having an iron in your hand. And it can't be under 50 yards, Zabbo.
Well, that's insurance. It has nothing to do whether you count it or not. I mean,
but I'm talking about, this is part of my parameters. What counts as a hole in one?
So you're at the big course and you get a hole in one on 7. You count it?
Yeah, it's over 50 yards.
But it's still, it's a little 80-yard shot most days.
It's 96 yards, 102 yards.
Yeah,
but doesn't
you count
100 yards? If I have a scorecard, if I'm up there and the boys say to me, "Oh, here, caddie's closest to the pin for $20," and I hole it, I ain't counting that.
It's not during play of rounds.
I don't have a scorecard in my hand, and I'm not part of the match.
But what if you have a scorecard in your hand at a par 3 course and you're on the tee?
Doesn't count. 40.
But you have a scorecard, you're writing scores down.
We're just never going to agree on that. But yes, anyway, Chang, thank you for that. Oh, next question. Came from Anonymous.
Oh, here we go. I'm sure it has something to do with me. And
No, it doesn't actually.
Okay,
it's always about you.
Enough about you,
Enough
more about me.
More about me. Rory McIlroy.
Ooh.
Thoughts? Question mark.
Wow.
So he's getting divorced.
I think I knew who sent this because the guy I caddied for
okay.
last week, who is a member at a very fine club, and he knows a lot of people in Rory's circle, and texted the same thing, and he said the same exact question. He said, Rory, thoughts? And the guy who is Rory's, I don't even want to say it, but he's in Rory's inner circle, responded, said no comment. But yeah, I mean, it happens very frequently on tour, and it happens with a lot of superstars, and it's not really surprising to me. I mean, it's not shocking. How he left his first relationship with Caroline Wozniacki. She's just getting back into golf after having a kid, but
she's getting into golf,
or getting back into tennis after having a kid.
Okay,
but he ended that like a month before the marriage through text message. Like, the guy is clearly kind of a scumbag in his personal life. I mean, he's a great golfer, and he seems like a nice guy, but in relation to his relationships with
as a person,
it's not surprising to me.
What's been deafening is the silence from the golf media. No,
they're not going to badmouth the golden child of the golden boy. PGA Tour. Yeah, Monahan's boy.
Yeah. If it turns out to be true that he's a love rat, I think it just adds more fire onto the hypocrisy with his stance towards live golf.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Human rights,
his respect for women,
human rights, etc. And then you're going to do that to your own,
family, wife, child, young child. Yeah. And get out of here.
And he did it on Mother's Day.
He did what?
He filed for divorce on Mother's Day.
The whole thing with like his interview with, allegedly, from a lot of people's circles, the woman he was cheating on with Amanda Balionis. Like, she's like, oh, well, what do you think on Mother's Day? And he's like, he just threw his mom like the biggest shout out in the world. Didn't even mention his wife, who obviously he probably knew he was about to file. But still, that's just, I mean, come on. It's the mother of your 2-year-old. You're not going to shout her out on Mother's Day?
Unbelievable. Yeah. Well, we don't know all the facts. So
we probably never will.
Well, no, it always has a way of coming out. I'm sure the wife will spill the beans at some point.
But as far as thoughts, I really don't care. It's
good point.
I really don't
Rory
care.
McIlroy, thoughts, question mark?
Don't care.
Don't care. Final question of the mailbag, okay?
Okay, let's hear it.
I have to get myself prepared for this one. This is a good one.
Oh, no.
It comes from an Oliver Schmidt, and he comes from Kenfeld in North Rhine-Westphalia. Das ist in Germany.
Germany, okay. I thought you were going Sweden with that, but
no. He says, "Do you boys watch the PGA Championship? And what did you think about the arrest of Scottie Scheffler?"
Oh, jeez. We were doing this whole podcast. I thought we might get through and not mention that, but
so for anyone that didn't see PGA Championship last month or earlier this month, world number 1 was arrested the morning. 3 hours before his tee-off time, 4 hours before his tee-off time on the Friday, the second round.
Pretty crazy. I don't know if this is going to be one of those moments. There's moments of history like where were you when the Twin Towers fell? Where were you when this news broke, that news broke? And I remember exactly where I was. Well, obviously, it's pretty fresh, but I was laying in. bed. This was pretty funny because I'm laying in bed. I mean, I'm half groggy. I'm just waking up.
Half groggy.
And my wife rolls over and she goes, Scottie Scheffler got arrested this morning. Mm-hmm. And I I'm like, I'm still. Right. She's like, no, I'm serious. I'm like, what? Check the date. I'm like, is it April Fool's? I'm like, Scottie Scheffler, what are you talking about, Scottie? Yeah, he assaulted a police officer. I was like, get the hell out of here. Scottie Scheffler assaulted a police officer. Unbelievable. I mean, the number 1 golfer in the world gets arrested the second round during a major right before crazy.
Wild. And then now we have the hindsight of seeing some footage.
Have you seen the video?
Where the cop basically lied.
Ow, my knee. Yeah. He jumped in front of the car onto the hood. Yeah. And he just kind of rolled onto the hood, like barely touched the car. Abysmal.
So he's going to be cleaning toilets for the rest of his policing career.
Well, it's shocking they haven't thrown out the case yet. They haven't dismissed it. Like, as soon as that video comes out, you have to dismiss that case and say, we're very sorry.
Saving face. The PR department are working very hard. I'm sure the mayor of, Louisville, and then you have the chief of police. Because here's what's wrong. Instead of talking about the tournament, all they did was talking about this bogus arrest.
Correct. And not only that, but the poor person who lost their life getting hit by the bus. So the way it happened was when the tournament was coming into town, the chief of police or whoever was like, who wants to work? They had all the golf fans, the police officers who were golf fans that were going to do security for that. This accident happened, and then the whole police force converges on that area. This guy had no idea about golf at all.
No.
And Scotty Scheffler, he has no idea who he is. And he kind of big times him like some police officers do, and is up arresting him for assault.
What an idiot!
Unbelievable. And then he gets out of jail and he goes out and he shoots his best round of the
tournament. But you have to imagine that definitely. Maybe the cop had a bunch of money on Xander Schauffele. You know what I mean?
I mean,
conspiracy theory.
It did make for like the greatest morning of Twitter ever. The memes were just legendary. I saw some great ones.
Some good stuff.
Yeah.
It was. I actually watched the tournament. I had a little skin in the game. I had Bryson DeChambeau, who's really grown in me. I've said it, in previous years, we thought he was a real douchebag. I think he's matured as a person, as a player. He now sees where he's at in the golf world and what his responsibility is to the game and to people. And I think you can see that with
there definitely has been some growth, and he realized, like, a lot of these golfers, they see their sports psychologists and these people, and they're ingrained not to show any emotion.
Yeah.
And he's realized,
that's not the way forward.
That's not what people want to see. They want to see me hoorah, and then they want to see me do this, and they want to see me do that, and he's playing to it, and that's the way he should be. I think he has grown.
So many thanks for your questions there, folks. There's several ways that you can get in contact with us if you have any feedback or questions on the social media. Just search for Glorified Donkey, give us a follow, send us a question or a comment. You can email us, podcast@glorifieddonkey.com. However, the plot thickens. Some very, very exciting news.
Okay, this is new to me. I haven't even heard this.
There's a lot of people that want to maybe contact us but are too lazy. So the idea of actually
typing in an email address,
blah, 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 right.
Searching on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook.
Now, you don't even know this. So grab your wee phone.
Okay, got it.
Your wee hairy paw.
Okay, very hairy.
I'm not sure if this is available on Spotify yet, but it's available on Apple and everything else.
Okay.
Go to any episode of the podcast.
Okay, I'm looking at our most recent one here.
We have a description on this episode, blah, blah, blah. If you look at the very top, there is a purple link, and it says, send the boys a text message.
Correct.
Click on that. What happens?
Wow.
You can send a text message.
Text message. Should I give it a shot here?
Yeah, send a message to yourself.
This wait a second.
I think Zabbo's a really great caddy.
I mean,
from Michael Zabbo.
Just so we know, this is, my phone's not going to get blown up, right? This is not linked to my phone.
This is not linked to. This is linked to the host of the podcast. So those messages come through. I think the mailbag is going to start blowing up. That's what's going to blow up. So you can now do
ask
that.
A question, yeah.
So you can, if you're lazy, which most of you are, I think 90% of people listen to podcasts on their phone. This is a very easy, quick way to send us a question, send us a comment. They could be positive or negative. I don't care.
Yeah, send some negative ones too.
Yeah,
I want to hear
negative stuff. Yeah. And there you go. So fantastic. Now we need to move on to shoutouts.
We do.
What you got?
I got to shout out my boy Tyler Dortch. He's been texting me. He's been catching up on podcast episodes, loving it, wondering what's happening in the caddy world. So this is a nice new episode for you. And he's going to come out next year. He's been invited to one of the pro-ams, so he's going to be out next year. Got to shout out Matt Schwab, who was just here. Great story about your hole-in-one. That's fantastic.
Yeah, he ain't going to be listening. He doesn't listen. Doesn't even know who you are.
Yeah, well, I think he knows that this story was going to be mentioned, so I'm sure he's going to listen. Also got to shout out Jeff Scalisi. He was here recently. Didn't ask me to caddy for him, but no hard feelings, Jeff. But I saw him on the resort. He said, hey, you never shouted me out on the podcast. And I want to shout you out because you also contributed to my daughter's fundraiser, as you did, Gordon, for the raffle tickets. So thank you guys very much.
1-0. My shout-outs, bunch of Scottish lads. I will tell the story about these lads, going forward. There's a David Corla. Randomly met him. Myself and Casey Boynes met him. He is from Ayrshire. He lives in the East Coast.
East Coast of Scotland.
No, East Coast of America.
Gotcha.
From the West Coast of Scotland. Crazy kind of way. We just met randomly. Dave, hope you're well. Enjoy your trip back to Scotland. And then there's a Peggy, George, Sean, and Derek.
Also Scottish?
2 Scots, 1 American.
Gotcha.
1 half English, 1 Scottish. Right. Sean's half. I helped him with his putting.
Gotcha.
I've got them down for a wee story in the next one along with David. Then the Oklahoma boys. You know who you are. There's a Matt Dieselhurst.
Dieselhurst?
Yeah, if you any issues with your ankles or your knees or your shoulders, he's in Oklahoma. He's a top surgeon.
Nice.
And he's also very proud of his German heritage. He's known as the Kaiser. Oliver Schmidt. Do you know Oliver Schmidt, Kaiser? And 2 of the lads on that, Johnny English and a guy called Words, they have their own podcast. It's called the Hole in None podcast. So it's all about fantasy golf.
Oh, okay.
I think 99.9% of their listeners are in Oklahoma because it's for their 300 or 400 guys that play in the league. But if you're in Texas or maybe anywhere, check it out. Get in contact with them. Maybe you can join their fantasy league.
There you go.
So that's the Hole in None podcast. Excellent. Zabbo, that's us done for the day.
Perfect. Good episode. A lot of fun.
Episode 133.
That was it. Yeah, next one will be 134.
134. You're going to be away for a wee while, so enjoy Disneyland again.
I shall, yeah.
To the listeners, many thanks for listening. Give us a rating. Review the podcast.
Hit the link in the text message. Send us a text message. Tell us you're listening. Tell us you're enjoying the podcast. Tell us you're not enjoying the podcast. Just give us some feedback.
And if you want to support us, you can buy us a beer. Go on the Twitter or go on the website, glorifieddonkey.com. And, caddies like beers. So
yeah. And share the podcast. Share it with your friends. We're still trying to grow this thing. Help us out.
Many thanks for listening. Get out there, enjoy your golf. But more importantly,
keep it humble.